Dr. Keelaneth pressed her long, thin fingers against the observation window and watched the sky turn purple. This was not supposed to happen. The Villani had chosen Kepler 442c because it was safe. The planet had a strong magnetic field that kept out dangerous radiation from space. Their research station had been working perfectly for 3 years. Now everything was falling apart. "Doctor, the readings are getting worse," said her assistant, Velinor. His voice shook as he looked at the computer screen. "The solar flare is much bigger than we thought. It's breaking down our planet's protection." Keelaneth nodded slowly. She understood what this meant. The Villani were a gentle people who had spent thousands of years studying the stars and making art. They were good at thinking about complex problems, but their bodies were weak. They could not survive in harsh places like many other species could. "How long do we have?" she asked. 72 hours, maybe less," Velinor replied. "After that, the radiation will kill anyone on the surface." Outside, the research colony looked peaceful. 50,000 Villani scientists worked in the white buildings, studying the strange blue crystals that grew deep in the planet's rocks. These crystals could change how the galaxy used energy. The research was important. But now none of that mattered. "Send the emergency signal to all ships in the area," Keelaneth ordered. "Tell them we need immediate evacuation." The first response came from the Althari Empire. Their admiral's image appeared on the main screen. He was tall and golden, with 4 arms that moved gracefully as he spoke. "We have received your distress call," the admiral said. "Unfortunately, our ships cannot handle such high radiation levels. Our energy shields would fail. We cannot risk our crews." The next message came from the Zephyrian Federation. Their representative was blue and moved like flowing water. "The distance to your location is too great for our vessels," she explained. "By the time we arrive, you will already be dead. We are sorry, but there is nothing we can do." One by one, the responses came in. The Crystalline Confederation said their ships were too expensive to risk. The Moth Republic claimed they had no ships available. The Silicon Alliance simply said the mission was impossible. Keelaneth felt her hope dying. In the Galactic Council chambers light years away, she knew the species were discussing their request. But she also knew what they were really thinking. The cost of saving 50,000 Villani was too high. The risk was too great. It was easier to let them die. The radiation levels kept climbing. The colony's shields flickered and sparked. Some of the younger Villani had already started getting sick. Their pale skin turned darker, and they moved slowly. "Doctor," Velinor said quietly, "maybe we should prepare for the end. Make everyone comfortable. Record our final messages. Then Linla." Sense. Keelaneth was about to agree when a new signal came through the communications array. The voice that spoke was different from all the others. It was rougher, simpler, but somehow more honest. "This is Commander Park Min-jun of the United Earthship Indomitable. We have received your emergency call. We are 3 days away from your position. Prepare your people for evacuation. We're coming to get you." The communications officer, a nervous young Villani named Toll even, looked confused. "Sir, should I tell them about the radiation levels? Their primitive technology cannot possibly handle the storm." Keelaneth had heard of humans before. They came from a planet called Earth, which other species called a death world because it was so dangerous. Humans were new to galactic society, and most species thought they were backward and crude. "Tell them everything," she ordered. "They deserve to know what they're flying into." The human commander's response came back quickly. "Understood. We know about the radiation. We're still coming. Park out." Around the galaxy, other species watched the human response with interest and amusement. In the Althari war rooms, generals laughed at human foolishness. In the crystalline towers, scientists calculated that the human mission had a 0% chance of success. "The humans don't understand," the Althari admiral told his staff. Their ships are old and simple. The radiation will destroy their electronics in minutes. They will die trying to be heroes. On, they have the state brawn. But on Earth, things were different. Admiral Sarah Chen read the mission briefings in the Colonial Defense Headquarters. The radiation levels around Kepler 442c were indeed deadly. No known technology could protect ships in that environment. Sir, asked Captain Torres, are we really sending our people into that death trap? Admiral Chen looked at the numbers again. 3 cargo ships and 2 frigates. 5 ships against a radiation storm that had already destroyed vessels worth billions of credits. Those are 50,000 people dying alone because everyone else gave up on them, she said. If we don't try, who will? Back on Kepler 442c, the Villani watched their equipment fail one by one. The beautiful crystals they had studied for years now seemed unimportant. Parents held their children close. Scientists sent final messages to families on distant worlds. But Keleneth kept watching the sky. Somewhere in that purple darkness, 5 human ships were flying towards certain death to save people they had never met. Every other species in the galaxy had found a good reason to stay away. Only the humans had found a good reason to come. Why? She whispered to herself. Why are they doing this? Velanor heard her question. Maybe they don't understand how dangerous it is. No, Keleneth said softly. I think they understand perfectly. I think that's exactly why they're coming. The radiation kept getting stronger. The shields kept getting weaker. And somewhere in space, 5 small ships from Earth flew through the darkness, carrying the only hope 50,000 Villani had left. Time was running out. But for the first time, in days, Keleneth allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, the universe still had room for miracles, even if those miracles came from a species everyone else thought was too primitive to matter. Commander Park Min-jun stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable and watched the radiation storm grow larger on his screens. Behind his small fleet, the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had left a trail of dead ships floating in space like metal graveyards. Sir, we're picking up debris from the Althari rescue attempt, reported Lieutenant Kim So-young, his communications officer. Looks like their flagship just stopped working. All systems dead. Oh. Park nodded grimly. The Althari had sent their most expensive vessel, worth more money than Earth's entire space fleet. It had lasted exactly 14 minutes in the radiation storm before its complex energy shields failed and fried every computer on board. What about the Zephyrian ships? Asked Chief Engineer Kim Tae-hyun over the comm system. Same story, Lieutenant Kim replied. They tried to use their quantum barriers to push through. The barriers collapsed, and the radiation cooked their crew in their fancy environmental suits. Park looked at his own fleet. 5 ships that any Galactic Council member would call junk. The Indomitable was 40 years old, built in Earth's orbital shipyards when humans were still figuring out how to weld metal in space. The cargo haulers, Determination and Perseverance, were even older, designed to carry supplies between Earth's colonies. But these old ships had something the expensive galactic vessels didn't have. They were built by people who understood that space wanted to kill you. Engineering report, Park called out. Kim Tae-hyun's voice crackled through the speakers. Radiation shielding is holding steady. Sir, lead plates are doing their job. Water tanks are full and properly positioned. Tungsten armor is thick and happy. Other species used energy shields that could be disrupted. Humans used chunks of metal and water. It was crude, but it worked. Earth had learned these lessons the hard way, when early astronauts died from radiation exposure during solar storms. Sir, said Lieutenant Kim, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council Emergency Response Center. The image of Admiral Zeth Kuller appeared on screen. The crystalline being's face showed what humans had learned to recognize as concern mixed with superior amusement. Commander Park, your mission is hopeless, the alien said. Our most advanced vessels have failed. Your primitive technology cannot succeed where our finest ships have died. Turn back now and avoid pointless sacrifice. Park studied the alien's crystalline features. Respectfully, Admiral, our primitive ships are still flying while your advanced ones are floating dead in space. We're continuing the mission. You don't understand the radiation levels, Admiral Zethkalar insisted. They exceed all known safety parameters. Your electronics will fail. Your crew will die. Maybe, Park said simply, but 50,000 people are counting on us to try. He cut the transmission before the alien could respond. The radiation grew stronger as they approached Kepler 442c. Park could hear it in the slight crackling of the speakers, could see it in the way some of the newer electronic displays flickered occasionally. But the main systems held steady. Contact with the planet's surface, announced Navigator Lee Hyun-woo. The Villani are still alive, but their shields are failing fast. On the main screen, Kepler 442c appeared as a purple ball wrapped in energy storms. The radiation readings were beyond anything in the standard safety manuals. Park's training told him to turn around. His conscience told him to keep going. Dr. Vasquez to bridge, came the voice of his senior science officer. I'm reading the atmospheric conditions down there. It's bad, sir. The Villani can't survive more than a few minutes outside their shelters. How long can we survive down there? Park asked. In our radiation suits? Maybe an hour before we start getting seriously cooked. The Villani don't have that kind of protection. Park made his decision. Take us into the atmosphere. All ships, begin descent. Emergency protocols are now in effect. The 5 human ships dove through radiation that had destroyed vessels worth more than entire star systems. The Indomitable shook as energized particles hammered its hull, but the thick metal armor held. The water tanks absorbed radiation like giant sponges. The lead plating did exactly what it was designed to do. On the surface, Dr. Kelleneth watched in amazement as the human ships descended through the purple storm. She had seen the wreckage of the other species' attempts. Ships that cost billions of credits had been turned into expensive metal coffins in minutes. But the human vessels, ugly and blocky and obviously old, just kept coming. How are they doing that? Whispered Velinor. Their technology is supposed to be inferior. Kelleneth watched the lead ship touch down near their main research facility. A ramp extended, and figures in bulky white suits began walking out. They moved slowly, but steadily, protected by what looked like primitive armor compared to the sleek suits other species wore. Maybe, she said quietly. We've been thinking about this wrong. Maybe simple is better than complex when everything is trying to kill you. The human rescue team reached the facility's emergency airlock. Dr. Elena Vasquez's voice came through their communication system, speaking in careful but understandable galactic standard. This is the human rescue team. We're here to get you out. How many people need evacuation? Thank 50,000, Kelleneth replied. But the radiation levels outside are lethal. How are you surviving out there? Through the airlock window, she could see Dr. Vasquez smile behind her helmet visor. We come from a death world. Remember? We've learned a few tricks about staying alive in places that don't want us. The evacuation began immediately. Humans in their bulky suits moved through radiation that would kill most galactic species in seconds. They carried Villani who were too weak to walk, guided those who could move, and worked with an efficiency that spoke of countless emergency drills. Above the planet, the galaxy watched in stunned silence as Earth's primitive fleet accomplished what the most advanced civilizations had declared impossible. Simple technology and determined people had succeeded where complexity and calculation had failed. And in the evacuation shelters, 50,000 Villani began to understand that sometimes the best way to solve an impossible problem was to find someone too stubborn to accept that it was impossible. Dr. Elena Vasquez wiped sweat from her forehead as she helped another group of Villani into the cargo hold of the Determination. The evacuation was going faster than anyone had expected. But it still wasn't fast enough. The radiation levels outside were climbing every hour. How many more? She asked her team leader, Sergeant Rodriguez. About 8,000 still waiting, he replied through his suit radio. But we've got a problem, Doc. There's a group of Villani scientists who won't leave the research center. They're trying to download some kind of important data. Elena looked toward the main research building. Through the purple haze of radiation, she could see lights still flickering in the lower levels. What kind of data? Something about energy crystals. The Villani say it could change how the whole galaxy powers itself. But the download will take at least 6 more hours, and those scientists are already showing signs of radiation sickness. Elena felt her stomach tighten. 6 more hours in this radiation storm would kill the Villani scientists for sure. Even humans couldn't survive that long down here without serious health problems. She opened a channel to the command ship. Commander Park, we have a situation. Back on the Indomitable, Park listened to Elena's report while watching the radiation readings climb steadily higher. Chief Engineer Kim Tae-hyun stood beside him, shaking his head. Sir, our suits can handle maybe 2 more hours in this environment, Kim said. After that, we'll be getting into dangerous exposure levels even for us. Park studied the tactical display. Most of the Villani were already safe on the human ships, but the research data could be incredibly valuable. More importantly, leaving people behind wasn't something humans did easily. What do the other species think we should do? He asked Lieutenant Kim. The communications officer checked her board. The Althari Admiral is broadcasting that we should take who we can and leave the rest. He says it's simple mathematics. We can't risk everyone for a few scientists. And the others? Pretty much the same, sir. The Crystalline Confederation says that saving some lives is better than losing everyone. They all seem sure we'll abandon the remaining scientists once the easy evacuations are done. Park was quiet for a moment. Through the bridge windows, he could see the other human ships working steadily to load more Villani refugees. His crew had been working for 18 hours straight without complaint, even though they knew the radiation was slowly cooking them all. Sir? Kim Tae-hyun asked. What are your orders? Park made his decision. I'm going down there personally. Gather a team of volunteers. Make sure they understand the risk. We're not leaving those scientists. In the research facility, Dr. Keelaneth watched her colleagues work frantically at their computers. The lead scientist, Dr. Morthok, was barely conscious, but he kept his thin fingers moving over the keyboard. The download is at 60%, he whispered. The crystal formation data. It could give unlimited clean energy to every world in the galaxy. Morthok, you need to stop, Keelaneth urged. The radiation is killing you. Someone has to finish this work, he replied weakly. Even if we die, the data must survive. That's when they heard the heavy footsteps in the corridor outside. The door opened, and a figure in a bulky white radiation suit walked in. The human removed his helmet, revealing a middle-aged man with kind eyes and graying hair. I'm Commander Park, he said in careful galactic standard. We're here to get you out. Keelaneth stared at him. You can't be here. The radiation levels will kill you in minutes without protection. Park looked around the room at the dying Villani scientists. How long until your download finishes? 4 hours, Dr. Morthok said weakly. But we won't survive that long. Then we'll finish it for you, Park said simply. He spoke into his suit radio. Team 2. Get in here. Bring the portable computers and the radiation medicine. More humans entered the room, moving with calm efficiency despite the deadly environment. Dr. Elena Vasquez immediately went to the sick Villani, injecting them with human radiation medicine that might help their alien biology. Sir, the download systems are compatible with our portable units, reported Chief Petty Officer Zhang. We can transfer the data and finish the download from our ships. But the crystals themselves, Dr. Morthok protested weakly. Physical samples. You need to go deeper into the facility, into the worst radiation. Park looked at his team. Every human face showed the same expression, tired but determined. They had come this far. They weren't stopping now. Zhang, take Williams and secure those crystal samples. Rodriguez, help Dr. Vasquez get these people to the medical bay. I'll stay and monitor the data transfer. Across the galaxy, other species watched in amazement and confusion. In the Althari Command Center, Admiral Tolmeric stared at his displays in disbelief. They're sending more people into that death trap, he told his staff. For what? A few alien scientists and some research data? They could save the ones they have and leave safely. Perhaps, suggested his science advisor, they place different value on life than we do. On the Crystalline Confederation's monitoring station, High Chancellor Velnara watched the human heat signatures moving through radiation levels that should have been instantly lethal. Their bio-readings show they're taking serious damage, she observed. But they keep working. How are they even conscious in that environment? Her aide checked the data files on human physiology. It says here they evolved on what they call a death world. High radiation, extreme weather, dangerous predators. Their bodies are built to survive in hostile environments. But that doesn't explain why they're risking their lives for strangers. Velnara mused. There must be some strategic advantage we're missing. Back on Kepler 442c, Commander Park watched the data transfer complete successfully. His radiation detector was screaming warnings, and he could feel a headache starting behind his eyes. But all the Villani scientists were now safely on the ships, and the precious research data was secure. All teams, extraction complete, he announced over the radio. Time to go home. As the human ships lifted off from the dying planet, Dr. Keelaneth found herself in the medical bay of the Determination, watching human doctors work to save her colleagues. The humans had been exposed to deadly radiation for hours, but they moved efficiently and calmly. Why? She asked Dr. Vasquez. Why did you risk everything for us? Elena looked up from treating Dr. Morthok. Because leaving people behind isn't who we are, she said simply. Your research might help everyone in the galaxy. But even if it was worthless, we still would have come. That's just what humans do. Outside the medical bay windows, the radiation storm continued to rage around the planet. But inside the human ships, 50,000 Villani were alive and safe, along with research data that could change the galaxy forever. And across the civilized worlds, species who had calculated that the rescue was impossible began to realize that maybe the humans calculated things differently than everyone else. The journey to the nearest safe system would take 3 weeks. Dr. Sarah Chen, the fleet's medical officer, stood in the converted cargo hold of the Perseverance and watched her human crew work alongside the Villani refugees. What she saw amazed her. Petty Officer Martinez was teaching a group of young Villani how to play chess, patiently explaining the rules in broken galactic standard. Chief Thompson was helping Villani engineers understand the human water recycling systems so they could feel useful instead of helpless. Even the ship's cook, Sergeant Kim, was learning to prepare food that the aliens could digest safely. Dr. Chen called Dr. Kelaneth as she approached. The Villani scientist looked much better after 3 days of treatment, though her pale skin still showed signs of radiation damage. I wanted to thank you for everything your people are doing. Sarah smiled and gestured toward the busy cargo hold. They're not my people and your people anymore. Right now, we're all just people trying to get home safely. This was not how galactic rescues normally worked. Most species would transport refugees in basic survival conditions: adequate food, air, and water. But nothing more. The survivors should be grateful to be alive. Comfort was a luxury that rescue operations couldn't afford. But humans had different ideas about basic survival. Commander Park had ordered the crew to share their personal supplies with the Villani. When the aliens got cold in the ship's lower temperature, humans gave them extra blankets and heating units. When the Villani children became frightened in the strange environment, human crew members sat with them and told stories. "Dr. Chen," said Lieutenant Kim from the communications station, "we're getting a transmission from the Althari fleet. They want to speak with Commander Park." Sarah made her way to the bridge, where she found Park reviewing supply reports. The man had been working non-stop since the evacuation began, making sure every Villani was healthy and comfortable. "Admiral Tolmeric wants to talk to you, sir," Lieutenant Kim reported. The Althari Admiral's golden face appeared on screen. As always, his expression was perfectly controlled and professional. "Commander Park, we have been monitoring your fleet's progress," the Admiral said. "Your mission appears successful, but we have concerns about your resource allocation." "What kind of concerns?" Park asked. "You are providing the refugees with far more than basic survival needs. You're sharing personal supplies, entertainment systems, even recreational facilities. This is highly inefficient and will strain your own crew's resources." Park looked at the Admiral for a moment. And it's unnecessary," Admiral Tolmarek replied, clearly confused by Park's response. "The Villani are alive. That should be sufficient. Why waste resources on comfort when survival is the priority?" "Because," Park said slowly, "keeping people alive isn't the same as keeping them human. Or in this case, keeping them Villani. These people lost everything, their homes, their research, their entire way of life. The least we can do is treat them with dignity while they start over." The Admiral's forearms moved in what Sarah recognized as the Althari gesture of confusion. "This philosophy is inefficient. You could have rescued more people if you had not wasted space and supplies on comfort items." "We rescued everyone," Park replied. "Every single person on that planet is alive and safe. Mission accomplished." After the transmission ended, Sarah found herself thinking about the conversation. She made her way down to the refugee areas again, watching how her crew interacted with the Villani. In the recreation area, Dr. Vellanor was teaching humans about Villani art, while Chief Rodriguez showed him how to play guitar. In the medical bay, Villani doctors worked alongside human medics, sharing knowledge about treating radiation exposure in different species. This was more than a rescue operation. It was becoming something like a community. "Dr. Chen?" Dr. Kelleneth appeared beside her again. "May I ask you a question?" "Of course. Why are your people doing this?" "Not the rescue. I understand duty and honor. But this..." She gestured toward the humans and Villani working together. "Why do you care so much about our comfort, about our feelings?" Sarah considered the question carefully. "Can I ask you something first? What did the other galactic species tell you about humans before we arrived?" Kelleneth looked uncomfortable. They said, humans were primitive, violent, that you came from a dangerous world, and were not very civilized." "And what do you think now?" "I think," Kelleneth said slowly, "that maybe being civilized doesn't mean what I thought it meant." Word of the human rescue spread through the galaxy's communication networks. In the Crystalline Confederation's capital, High Chancellor Velnara reviewed reports with her council. "The humans have completed their evacuation successfully," reported her military advisor. "All 50,000 Villani are alive and healthy." "Remarkable," Velnara admitted. "Our analysis indicated a 97% probability of mission failure. How did they succeed where our advanced vessels could not?" End quote. Simple technology and redundant systems, apparently. But that's not the interesting part. What is? The Villani have agreed to share their energy crystal research exclusively with Earth. The technology could make the humans a major galactic power overnight. Velnara leaned forward in her crystal chair. "Exclusively? Why not share it with all species?" The advisor displayed the transmission from Dr. Kelleneth. she says, and I quote, "Every species in the galaxy calculated the cost of saving us and decided we weren't worth the risk. Only the humans calculated the cost of abandoning us and found it unacceptable." In the cargo hold of the Determination, Dr. Morthak was showing human engineers how the Vellani energy crystals worked. His radiation-damaged hands shook as he pointed to the complex molecular structures on the display screen. "With this technology," he explained, "you could power your entire homeworld with a crystal no larger than my fist. Clean, unlimited energy. For generations." Chief Engineer Kim Tae-hyun studied the data with amazement. "This could change everything. Why are you sharing this with us instead of your own government?" Do. Morthak was quiet for a moment. "Because my government abandoned us to die. Your people flew through a radiation storm to save strangers. I know who I trust with this power." As the human fleet continued toward the Haven's gate system, something unexpected was happening in the cargo holds and corridors of the 5 old ships. Humans and Vellani were not just traveling together, they were becoming friends. But across the galaxy, other species were watching and learning something they had forgotten in their pursuit of efficiency and profit. Sometimes, the most advanced technology was simple kindness. Sometimes the most sophisticated strategy was doing the right thing. And sometimes the most primitive species were the ones who remembered what civilization was really supposed to mean. Commander Park stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched the massive ships appear on his sensors. The vessels were unlike anything in the standard galactic fleet databases, ancient but elegant, with designs that seemed to flow like water through space. "Sir, we're being hailed," reported Lieutenant Kim. "The lead ship identifies itself as the Kythera flagship Eternal Wisdom." Park felt a chill run down his spine. Every spacer knew stories about the Kythera. They were one of the oldest species in the galaxy, so advanced that they had stopped participating in galactic politics thousands of years ago. Most people thought they were just legends. "Put them through," Park ordered. The figure that appeared on screen was tall and graceful, with silver skin that seemed to glow from within. When she spoke, her voice carried the weight of centuries. "I am Fleet Commander Zarathek of the Kythera Eternal Fleet. We have come to escort the honorable Deathworlders to safety." "Escort us?" Park asked. "Why?" "Because," Zarathek said simply, "we have been watching the galaxy for 2,000 years, waiting for someone to remember what we thought was lost forever. You have reminded us that honor and compassion still exist among the younger species." Around the human fleet, more Kythera ships appeared. They moved with impossible grace, their hulls reflecting the starlight like mirrors. Each vessel was larger than any ship in the galactic fleet, yet they moved as silently as ghosts. "We do not often involve ourselves in galactic affairs," Zarathek continued. "But when we witnessed your rescue of the Vellani, we knew we had to act. You succeeded not because you had better technology or superior numbers, but because you remembered something the galaxy has forgotten." "What's that?" "That the value of life cannot be calculated in credits or strategic advantage. That sometimes the most important thing you can do is the right thing, regardless of cost." As the combined fleet approached Haven's Gate Station, they found it crowded with ships from across the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of species had come to witness the arrival of the primitive humans who had accomplished the impossible. Dr. Keelaneth stood in the observation deck of the Determination, watching the approaching station. Beside her, Dr. Elena Vasquez reviewed the technical data they would be presenting to the galactic scientific community. "Are you ready for this?" Elena asked. Keelaneth nodded slowly. "The energy crystal technology will change everything. Clean, unlimited power for every world in the galaxy. But we're only sharing it with Earth. Some people aren't going to like that decision. Let them be angry," Keelaneth replied. "They had their chance to help us. They chose to calculate probabilities and find excuses. You chose to calculate whether you could live with yourselves if you didn't try. At Haven's Gate Station, Admiral Chen waited in the docking bay as the human ships arrived. Behind her stood representatives from the major galactic powers. All of them trying to understand how Earth's primitive technology had succeeded where their advanced systems had failed. The Althari Admiral Tolmarek approached as the first refugees disembarked. Admiral Chen, we need to discuss the technological implications of this rescue. Our analysis suggests the humans have been hiding advanced capabilities. Admiral Chen smiled. Our ships are exactly what they appear to be. 40-year-old cargo haulers held together with determination and prayer. The only advanced technology we used was caring about people more than profit. That cannot be the only explanation, insisted the crystalline High Chancellor Velnara. Your vessels survived radiation levels that destroyed our finest ships. Simple is often better than complex, Admiral Chen replied. You built ships that could do amazing things in perfect conditions. We built ships that could keep working when everything went wrong. But the real surprise came when Dr. Kalaneth announced the Vellani decision to share their energy crystal technology exclusively with Earth. This is unacceptable, declared the Silicon Alliance representative. This technology belongs to all galactic civilization. Where was galactic civilization when we were dying? Kalaneth asked calmly. Every species in this room had the resources to attempt a rescue. Every species found a reason not to try. Only Earth calculated that abandoning people in need was unacceptable. The Moth Republic ambassador stepped forward. Surely you understand that our calculations showed the mission was impossible. We couldn't risk our crews on a hopeless cause. The humans face the same impossible odds, Dr. Morthok said from his medical chair. His radiation-damaged body was weak, but his voice was strong. The difference is that they calculated whether they could live with themselves if they didn't try, and found they couldn't. Fleet Commander Zarathek watched the proceedings from the back of the assembly hall. Her ancient eyes had seen civilizations rise and fall, had watched species grow powerful, and forget what made them worthy of power. She approached Commander Park as the formal presentations ended. Your species has done something remarkable today. Not just the rescue. That was impressive enough. But you've reminded the galaxy of something it had lost. What's that? Park asked. Hope, Zarathek replied. For 2,000 years, we've watched galactic civilization become colder, more calculated. Species measure everything in terms of profit and strategic advantage. We had begun to think that compassion was an evolutionary weakness that would be eliminated over time. And now? Now we see that compassion might be the greatest strength of all. The Cathera Eternal Council has voted. We offer Earth a formal alliance. The first new species we have allied with in 2 millennia. The news sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Other species began requesting meetings with human representatives, not to study their technology, but to understand their philosophy. 6 months later, Admiral Chen stood in the newly constructed Human Rescue Corps headquarters on Luna. Through the windows, she could see construction crews building ships designed jointly by human and Vellani engineers. Vessels that combined Earth's robust simplicity with alien energy crystal technology. Admiral, her aide reported, we're receiving another immigration request. This time, from the Deltan Republic. They want to relocate their entire civilian population to human-protected space. Why? Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. They say they trust Earth's moral character more than the major powers' military might. Dr. Keelaneth entered the office, carrying a datapad with the latest rescue mission reports. The Human-Vellani partnership had saved over 1 million beings in the past 6 months. Refugees from wars, survivors of natural disasters, people abandoned by their own governments as too expensive to save. How many more missions do we have scheduled? Chen asked. 17 active rescue operations, Kalaneth replied. And 3 more requests came in this morning. The galaxy is learning that there's finally someone they can call. When everyone else says a situation is hopeless. Do you ever regret sharing the crystal technology with us instead of your own people? Keelaneth smiled. My own people abandoned us to die. You flew through a radiation storm to save strangers. I made the right choice. Priya. Outside Luna's domed cities, Earth's children played in parks built with crystal-powered technology that provided unlimited clean energy. Above them, rescue ships prepared for missions to save people that other species had written off as lost causes. The galaxy had learned something important from the rescue of 50,000 Villani scientists. The most primitive technology, compassion, was also the most advanced. The best way to calculate the value of a life was to remember that some things couldn't be calculated at all. And in the end, the species that everyone called Deathworlders had become the ones the galaxy turned to when it needed to remember what life was really worth.